Calibrating. Yeah. Alright. Wax, lightly weathered cut copper stairs. They're everywhere at the moment, but that's not what I'm here to talk to you about today. As many of you should know, I am a part-time citizen of the Emirate, and due to recent events and updates, the Emirate intends to become more active in the Great Desert and the Barrens region. The problem is, it's not mapped. That's what we'll be doing today, ladies and gentlemen. And for anyone curious, this mess is part of a new company building here in Tanis. Well, Worsty, 8 months later, you got your wish. Sort of. Without further ado, let's get some supplies together. Alright, I got some tools, some basic diamond armor, now for a little insurance policy. There we go. So yeah, decent pickaxe, a trash bow, withering arrows to make up for it, cartography table, and paper. The one thing I don't actually have is a sword, believe it or not, but that's okay because I know where to get one. Knockback 1 should be good enough for this. Now, the map. You can see the capital where we are marked by this little green dot. There's plenty of activity in the desert, but currently it remains completely unmapped. After plotting a course, I headed out the western gate to the stables to grab our trusty mount for this mission, El Senor. Together we set off with a glimmer in our eyes and adventure in our hearts. My plan for this project was to map the border first and then fill in the gaps. So I headed out to the southern border and right away spotted this Frostwalker bridge, but you'll have to wait for lore 6 to hear more about that. More importantly, a mangrove boat. The Emir used to use mangrove for his personal boats, but he kept having to remake them because they kept getting stolen. To this day, the culprit was never identified, but this might be a big clue. Continuing south, I came upon the ruins of the Raiders' village, previously used by rebel leader Meemless, now unused and abandoned. Lore tourism. Continuing to the south, I began to reach sparsely traveled territory and even spotted some new desert bushes. I also saw this crazy monolith offshore, no doubt the work of the Miranese. By nightfall, I came to the Burning Sands and one of the shelters used by Highfish while plundering the desert. No door or torches or anything, very on brand, but it worked out well because I needed a place to sleep. The next day, I realized it would be faster just to walk, but I couldn't just leave El Senor. I'd definitely be executed if he died. Luckily, I knew of a small Emirate vassal city in the area where I could leave him. Judging the terrain, I used a boat to try and map the southern border more quickly, which turned out to be a great idea, not for mapping, but because I became probably the first person in the world to ever find a firefly bush. Neat. But for mapping, I was getting nowhere on the water and ended up sleeping in the village that night. As I headed out the next morning, I saw some more new bushes and even a few cactus flowers, but also one of the world's most infamous landmarks, the desert temple where Highfish blew himself up, along with every structure looted from here to Timbuktu. The jungle planks outside line up with the infamous clip. Highfish's plunder of the desert may or may not have motivated this expedition. Another day's travel saw me arrive at the desert's western edge and the start of the Badlands. Some pretty cool spots to be found within, reserved for the Emirate of course. As you'll notice, I've been commanded to scrub coordinates for the whole video so nobody gets any ideas. I also spotted a village, which of course I had to investigate. Saw some cool, unique buildings I haven't really seen before, along with an endless sweeping savanna to the west. I got a little bit lost on the way back and started regretting that I'd cheaped out and went with non-locator maps. Although eventually I spotted the desert again, on the other side of a massive ravine, which I didn't really feel like traversing, so I improvised. One bridge later and we were back on track. It seemed like the desert ended in an ocean, but I had to investigate to make sure, and sure enough, I spotted an emerald tower across the water, which turned out to be one of the twin villages, thought to be the westernmost settlements. This meant I was truly in new territory. And I found another cool spot just across the bay, flat rocky islands with some lowland jungle. But heading on from there and keeping to the border, I spotted this cave that we'll revisit later. I also spotted a mountain, which makes me one of like 3 people to have ever found an actual mountain biome. Way cooler than that though, at least to me, was this hidden bamboo forest merged with the Badlands. There's just something so interesting about this, but I can't quite describe it. A few more days heading east now, the Badlands faded away into a classic desert, though there were some interesting caves I ended up falling into, more than one on accident. After that, passage through the Dune Sea brought me to a familiar region, the Spikes. Then my game froze, hard. But anyway, just look at this place, beautiful. As a reminder, the Spikes are one of the UN's jointly recognized protected natural areas, and major developments here are forbidden. While in the Spikes region, I took a moment to visit another famous landmark, the wreck of the Treader. Took a little screenshot, of course, and passed another historical spot, the trench originally dug by zippers to reach the ocean and Little Iceland. I then realized, for the first time in my life, that swamp trees are not normal oak trees colored differently. I cleared the swamps and traveled for another day to the eastern edge. Here I spotted this surface track generation. A little further on, a cobweb caught my eye. Definitely a mine here somewhere. And while we're here, nobody get any ideas about looting these cool mines I've been finding. That's right, I know you watch my videos. I'll have you unalived. I headed pretty far south through the already explored Terracotta Mine region, and eventually the High Tower came into view, along with the barren hilltop that helped incite the rebellion. Maybe. It certainly drove Beck away from the First World. I also saw the High Tower had a busted window. I wonder what happened there. A few steps more and I was safely back in the capital. I went straight to the map room and quickly discovered that I accidentally mapped a duplicate. However, I did get the border laid out to see what I was actually working with. Turned out I only needed one map in addition to the borders. But first, I went ahead and bought 6 compasses to upgrade all the maps to locator. I ended up with an extra, so I linked it to the Tannis City Bank. That's what Lodestone is for, after all. Although big L to whoever crafted this with netherite. So back into the wilds to fill it all in. On the first day, I found some big open caves, and also got this weird FOV jitter. And long story short, ended up in Mesa Segura for the night. Luckily nobody was home, as the Outlanders are famously territorial. The next morning I skedaddled out of there and came upon this temple, which I had to check. Obviously I had to check it, but of course it was already looted. In fact, I found many temples, every one of them had already been ransacked. Nonetheless, one map tile completed. I found some other stuff in Outlander territory, a weird water feature, and this cool open mineshaft, which this time was also looted. Just in time for nightfall, I found this completely untouched village, sadly pretty rare these days. Onward again. On the other side of the coin, I found a village that had been completely ravaged and even still had a raid active. With one mob remaining, I figured I'd hit an easy hero of the village. Some of the houses had generated underground, so I found the last guy down there, but the raid started recharging and I quickly realized that I didn't have the facilities for that, so I GTFO'd. Sorry guys. I spent a long and perilous night on the run before finally arriving at the other twin village, a welcome sight. Although I ended up succumbing to boredom and leaving almost immediately. Not far from there I found a shogunate boat. It seemed abandoned, so I took it. A few more days crisscrossing the desert and I came back across this open cave I said we'd come back to. Natural waterfalls, open lush cave, and even a mine shaft up top, not to mention a cursed water feature. I don't know about you guys, but this place seems pretty unique. I've decided to call it Shangri-La, and I might build here. Speaking of cursed water features, check this out. Wild. In interest of keeping the video short, I filled out most of the rest, but consider what we've already talked about a highlight reel. Oh, I guess I found some surface dripstone, which is pretty cool. Oh, I also found... Anyways, after all that, all I had to do was head back to the original vassal city and pick up El Señor to bring him back to the capital. Returning to the World Pyramid, the desert map was finally complete. A lot more rivers than I originally expected, and the world policy on exploration right now is a little bit iffy, but we'll get into that in Lore 6, which I am currently writing. Since like 90% of the desert had already been visited, and since the Emirate wants to expand its territory, this mapping project got the green light, and I saw the opportunity for content, so I offered to do it. So yeah, this was my first attempt at a Let's Play-ish style, so we'll see how it does. Also, Netherwort can have healing properties or be a reactive agent, but that doesn't mean it has to be a vaccine. That's ridiculous. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks for watching, and till next time.